In this video today, we are going to be performing a long hold 10% session. As you guys probably know, we're commonly programming these long holds as a part of our recovery work, so we might as well get a look at how to actually perform it. I'm going to go to Browse All Protocols. We can go to our percent of 1RM targets tab if we want. I'll just do that for the sake of it. From here, I'm going to type in long hold. And there we go. There's our long hold 10% right there. I have an active one, but we'll start new. I have my right hand in the device and I'm already connected. Velocity here, all-time max velo is set to 93. Let's say that I recently hit a PR. Let's say I hit a PR of 94. I would rather select the top side of that, so I'm going to select 95. I'm going to click continue and we will see our instructions. I'm going to skip that just for now. I would definitely encourage you to read the instructions and we are going to calibrate. As we calibrate, I should float my fingers as to not create force or apply force anywhere. So we see this target force of 20. You might be asking, where does that come from? As you may know by now, we base everything for these percent of 1RM sessions, whether it's long hold, power, endurance, basic training, or strength training. We base it off of our database when we might not be able to have an athlete one rep max. Because I selected 95 and my first exercise is going to be four fingertip flexion, we have 195 right here. 195, 10% of that would be 19.5. We can round it up to 20, and that is why we are seeing 20 in the app right here. I'm going to have two reps. They're going to be 30 seconds with a 15-second rest time in between. So very slow, very easy. There we go. We're just going to be hanging out. This is definitely a level that I can converse during. This is not really challenging for me, but that means I really want to be careful not to go too hard. It is important to hit those target forces. They are target forces for a reason. We don't want to overdo this training stimulus as the purpose is recovery. If we start going too hard, we might be fatiguing the very muscle tendon units that we are actually focused on bringing blood flow to and trying to aid in their return to baseline. Rep number 2 here of our four finger fingertip flexion. I'm going to try to get a little more out of the little finger, and I'm actually curious if I can go 5 units of force across on all fingers. This is me playing around. This isn't something that you necessarily need to be focused on, but I do really enjoy being able to see what each finger is providing to my total force, and it enables me to kind of have that neuromuscular control piece, see if I can actually manipulate the way the fingers are applying force to create that total. We'll click done. We're going to move on. We have our ulnar deviation reps now. We're going to have 2 of them. We'll click continue. You can see I moved my ring finger over. So now the deviation paddle is sitting between my ring and little fingers. We're going to press calibrate from here. As you may remember from other videos, we are going to use our offhand to brace the back of the device. Granted, this is super low force, so you might even not think it's necessary, but I encourage you to be, again, consistent with your setup. You want to have a comfortable setup, and we want this to be repeatable. Thus, although 8 units of force might be really easy to create and sustain, I still want to be in the habit of doing this the same way every time I do it. There we go. A little bit more force than necessary, but averaging 11 is totally okay. That's not going to be overly fatiguing. You'll see in all our long hold protocols, we limit them at the 30% ceiling. So these are going to be really low intensity across the board. Most of the time, we're going to be in the 10, 15, or 20% of targets. And done. There we go. And we are back to mid finger flexion. So we'll slide the finger receivers over our fingers. We are going to go proximal to that distal joint line. That basically means I want that full last piece of my finger exposed, that full tip, everything beyond the last joint line. So the fingernail should be completely exposed as I perform these reps here. I'm going to calibrate. We have 18 units of force. As you can see, those 18 units of force are, again, coming from our 95 mph targets for four finger mid finger flexion. We can see our setup in the picture here. That's roughly how I'm set up. And we will apply force. We only have one rep here, and I'll explain why. It's a super interesting phenomenon, and it comes through some very interesting research about muscle tendon pulls or flexor strains and really the very injuries that we are trying to prevent and rehab and respond from with these long holds. That kind of ugly intro I just gave will explain why I'm now set up in this rock on position. So only my index and little finger are in the device now. The reason we do this is the index and little fingers are controlled by the deep fibers of the FDS, or I should say further, the mid finger joint, the proximal joint of the index and little finger are controlled by the deep fibers of the FDS, or flexor digitorum superficialis. Great. Now you ask, why does that matter? Interesting fact, but why does it matter? The deep fibers of the FDS are the part of the muscle tendon unit that is most likely to be strained or injured when a flexor strain happens. Thus, we just want to give those deep fibers a little bit of specific love by targeting them with this movement. And when we do fingertip work, the mid finger muscle, the FDS, is not completely removed from the action. The FDS still supports the FDP in fingertip flexion or distal joint flexion. Now, when we do mid finger work or proximal joint work, the FDP completely takes the back seat. It sits on the sideline, and the FDS is our front runner of the movement. Thus, we feel totally comfortable giving one rep to all four fingers and then one rep to the specific deep fibers that control the index and little finger primarily. But there we go. We're done with the session now. Let's see how we did on that average. I went way too hard while I was talking, but that's okay. We'll be all right. Granted, definitely should have been a little more accurate with my training. It happens. Nonetheless, we're done with our session. If you want to click done and go to protocols, that'll end everything for you. You'll submit everything to the back end. And if you want to check out histories, you can either click the history tab in the app, or you can go to your personal dashboard from flexprogrip.com to see a more in-depth look at the data.